I think it's time we discuss Reinhardt. He is extraordinarily underwhelming and is one of the tanks that truly does need a look, right? Some people aren't completely dominant, but a lot of the tanks are still quite strong right now. However, Reinhardt alongside Junker Queen are the two tanks that are making it to the bottom of most people's tier list. Now, with that being said, if you want any info on Junker Queen, I already talked about the upcoming spicy changes and reworks in a different video, but today we talk about Reinhardt. So one of the biggest reasons I think Reinhardt needs to be looked at ASAP, and hear me out, is because Reinhardt greatly benefits from any speed boosting supports, right? Reinhardt actually needs those supports in order to even be viable. And right now, guess who's meta? It's both Kiriko as well as Lucio. They're the two biggest meta support picks, and they combo with Reinhardt extraordinarily well. Yet still, with all that, Reinhardt is still at the bottom of the tier list. He is still the weakest tank in the game alongside Junker Queen, and that is extraordinarily concerning because right now the two greatest supports, the two best in the meta, are perfect for him, yet still it is not enough, and that's the only way he's somewhat viable in niche picks on brawly style maps in close quarters alongside Kiriko and Lucio on your team. What happens when these two fall out of favor? It's going to be deadly. It's going to completely ruin Reinhardt, and I think a preemptive buff or slight rework to his kit is probably needed. Now, right before I get into the suggestions, I just want to say that I have a friend. He runs his own little Overwatch channel, and I'd like to plug him here. He does short clips, and if you sub and comment on one of the latest videos, we're going to be picking 3 winners to win a battle pass. Anyways, link down below. But Reddit had some crazy suggestions on how to fix Reinhardt. Like, every update, give him another fire strike until he's viable, or better yet, Shatter should cause an earthquake that kills everyone in the game and destroys the map, man. But no, on a serious note, there are some great suggestions from the community, like Fire Strike inflicting burning. It's a fire strike, right? So why not inflict burn to the opponents and make it overall more deadly? It's not the easiest thing to hit, the cooldown isn't the quickest by any means, and maybe allowing Reinhardt to do a little bit more damage at a poking range will allow him to alleviate the need of getting boosted to the close quarters. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to change Reinhardt's complete identity, but I don't mind the idea of somehow improving Fire Strike. However, that's only one piece of the puzzle. Again, I like to focus on the need of needing a boost, right? Ramattra really needed those boosts in order to get in second mode, so they just buffed his movement speed. Now with Reinhardt, maybe that isn't 100% the solution because he has charge. So there's two things. One, maybe increase the shield regen time to be a little bit faster so his shield can be up more. Of course, this one is dangerous because you don't want shields to be too prominent in Overwatch. However, if Blizzard stays true to this philosophy and doesn't spam or give too many prominent shields to others, for example, Ramattra's on a cooldown that goes away pretty quickly, so I never felt it was great because that actually improves his identity. But that's only one part. His charge should be a little bit less punishing, I believe. Now, hear me out. If a enemy Reinhardt charges into you and misses or pins someone without completely eliminating them, let's say there's no wall behind them or they have too much health, he can be punished a little too brutally, right? One missed think about it this way. One missed charge equal dead. Like if the team works together, you're dead. On the other hand, a lot of other tanks are like, let's say, one missed Doomfist punch, you jump out if you're a good Doomfist. You miss a Roadhog hook, you heal out. Like, I think Reinhardt gets punished a little too strongly for failing a charge. Now, how could this be alleviated? Or, better yet, make charge not only about pinning targets, but more so engaging as a tank, the same way D.Va can fly in and fly out. And my solution to that? Well, let him build armor as he's charging. The further he charges, the more armor he builds. Slowly has this building armor mechanic that goes up based off of meter distance, and it allows him to get if you get a perfect charge into the enemies at a perfect range, you have maximum amount of armor and you have some survivability to get in there and start wreaking havoc. This should be somewhat viable and easy to balance because Reinhardt doesn't have a get out of jail free card, right? If he doesn't have his ult up, he can't heal himself. His shield, of course, isn't like 180. It's only facing one direction. So getting into the midst of a bunch of enemies is already very risky. I would argue most tanks can survive a little bit better than Reinhardt if caught off of guard. Now, I know his hammer getting in is a little bit different because once you're in, you're literally just swinging a hammer left and right and just absolutely destroying people. people. That's the main issue. Reinhardt needs a little bit more vulnerability in order to keep that balance correct. Some people suggest a lot more tame changes that aren't complete reworks, like fire strike damage from 90 to 100 and charge damage from 225 to 250, which can make a lot of sense in my opinion. Then there's more insane recommendations that I don't know how to feel about, but I love sharing them from Reddit. For example, allowing Reinhardt to charge while his shield is actually up. Now, that one sounds kind of wild. However, I could see it being extremely fun and go with the whole survivability thing. Like, instead of gaining armor, you can just charge with your shield up, so you're not taking damage on the way there, which is another big issue with Reinhardt. But maybe if you decide to charge with your shield up, you no longer can pin, and if you want to pin, it's with the shield down. I don't know. That one's a little bit more wacky, but I could see it being extremely fun, true to character, and solve the problem of both survivability and the vulnerability you have while charging. There's also, I'll admit, this is very noob of me to not know, right? Like, this is stupid, but there was a nerf to Fire Strike that actually took a lot from it, which removed the ability to destroy traps, tires, and destroy a lot of other things. And I didn't actually know that they had that type of nerf to Fire Strike. It does make me wonder if bringing some of that back would be good, like some sort of range to Reinhardt. Like I mentioned at the start, the Fire Strike, not rework, but buff does make a little bit of sense. So I have mixed feelings about this one because it was probably removed for better reason than I'm understanding, but I think that's where I need your guys' help. Do you think Fire Strike should destroy other abilities? Let me know. From here, we move into something a little bit more fun. They're not exactly strictly my suggestions, and more ideas from Reddit that are a little bit more wild, but they're very fun. They're very fun. Someone suggested give him a quick melee with an animation where he simply strikes you with the butt end of his hammer for 30 damage. This way he can do a 3-hit combo. Hit, Fire Strike, and melee. That will kill most heroes in the game. And this sounds really, really funny because there is some skill to it. Like, if you charge the perfect distance, right? And then you smack someone, hit the Fire Strike and melee, and assuming they're not getting healed, it would kill most of the heroes in the game, but that takes a lot of skill to pull off. I don't think that would be super balanced or logical, but hell, if it's not cool. Someone else also suggested to give him 2 modes within his shield. One is the wide shield, which of course we know slows him down to a crazy turtle, and then have him the option to shorten his shield where it becomes more like a Brigitte shield, but you get that movement speed back and you can shield smack, and be a little bit more brawly and viable against people who do way more damage than you. This one can I say this one sounds so cool, but no, I don't think I'd ever want it in the game, because when you overcomplicate a hero, it makes it harder to balance them, which is not something Reinhardt needs right now. But man, okay, like, let's be honest, that would be freaking sick. Now, another suggestion that I actually wouldn't mind seeing, but I can't fully process how well it would work, is allowing the charge to go 2 ways. Either when you're charging and you pin someone, you keep committing to a wall to do maximum damage, or you can change it up where you then stop and slam them towards the ground, and instead of dealing any amount of significant damage, maybe just a small amount like 30 to 50, you actually get a slow/stun on them in order to keep them down. That one sounds pretty freaking cool because it allows some free-forming charges without the use case of a wall all the time, and to twist it over into a slow/AoE stun. But with that being said, it would need to be balanced perfectly because stuns are something Blizzard are trying to avoid, and I honestly appreciate that. Stuns and slows can be very, very annoying, but with someone like Reinhardt, if done correctly, I think that would be pretty cool. I genuinely think like it could help him with that whole engage and assassinate. However, I'm usually all for those things as long as they need teamwork in order to pull off, right? Like I suggested a last video when I was talking about Roadhog, his hook, his one-shot be reduced, but maybe the hook timer to be increased so he can stun a little bit longer and work alongside his team. But I don't know, that's just a suggestion. Reinhardt definitely needs some changes, but let me know what you think in the comments down below.